Hello, happy weekend, happy new one to every Challenge Dark community member. We are on to another edition of the Challenge Dark weekly Zoom meetings. On this edition, we have the two CEOs of the Challenge EOS application, which are Mr. Kent Eskam and Chess Eskam. You're welcome to the show, bosses.
Thank you. Thank you, City.
Awesome. So thanks everybody joining the call. Another edition of the Challenge DAC AMA. We try to do these every Friday, and these are free for anyone to join. So anyone inside the community who wants to know about Challenge DAC or see what we're up to, you guys are free to come on and ask questions. And in fact, we actually give out tokens for people who come on. So this week, another exciting week, a lot of challenges being made, a lot of new developments. And so I guess we'll get right into it and go over some of the news. So some of the news that we have going on this week is we have, and we were just on DApp radar here, and we're currently out of all EOS dApps, we're ranked number 30. And that's even with just, and they're having us to have 7 users, but we're way higher than this. We were talking about this before, that all of our transactions are, or all of our users use one smart contract. So so our numbers are probably a lot higher than that. But last time I checked, we're approaching 10, 20,000 users. And
yeah, explain that a little better, Chase, how all the users that we have are operating under one smart contract, which means that we're only counted as one, even though there may be 40 or 50 people doing a challenge that's a separate contract, but it's only being run under one smart contract account, which is Challenge U. But there could be a number of users of that. So we're not being accurately measured as far as DApp radar is concerned.
No. And the reason that we do that is for those who are familiar with EOS, it's takes a little bit of money to set up a new account. You know, you have to pay for some money for resources and for RAM. So what we've done is we have one smart contract that manages all our users' accounts. And that way we can pay for all of our users' resources and their CPU, and they don't have to worry about that. So it makes for, and they don't have to worry about their private keys. We do give them private keys that they're able to store on their phone, but basically, long story short, is we just it makes it easier for users to come on. It's easier to onboard users, and then we're able to pay for all their resources. But one of the downsides to that is on these DApp ranking systems, it makes our numbers a little bit low. You know,
a little bit low. It makes them almost, they're not even compares. Because I mean, you know, all the activity is being run on one contract, so it's just it's not even apples and apples. It's not even apples and oranges. It's just not even in the same ballpark.
No, not at all. I think 7 users is, so that these are users, but I think that's the number of people that have moved tokens on and off the contract for today. So if you've got 7 people moving tokens on and off the contract, I would say, I mean, what would you guys guess at any given day? We probably have a couple hundred active users. I know we have. If you look here on blocks.io, I mean, we have hundreds of pages, and each one of these pages is somebody who created an account. So we get 10, 20 new users per day. So we're probably over 20,000 users. So
which would probably put us up as one of the most active dApps in the world, not only on EOS, but anywhere in the world. Nobody's getting that kind of usage from a single application on the blockchain today, even in the Ethereum network, or even EOS network, or Solana, or any of these. They're not getting that kind of activity.
Yeah, especially for an application that's not a wallet or an exchange.
Exactly. That's right.
Novel idea that's using the blockchain. We got to be, you know, probably at least top 5 on EOS and top 20 in the world, I would guess.
Yeah, I would say at least.
At least,
yeah. That'd be pretty. That'd be very much conservative figures for the amount of people that we have using this application.
Yeah, very conservative. So that's and then we got some other interesting things that we were talking about. So for you guys have been following the EOS Foundation. they've asked people to, they've looked into litigation against Blockone, and Blockone has over $10 billion of Bitcoin. They were able to raise $4 billion during their ICO, and then they turned around and took that and converted it into Bitcoin, and now that Bitcoin's worth about $10 billion. And since then, they have they've gone and they've taken Blockone's taken their name, they changed it to Bullish, and then Bullish is now merging with what they call a blank check company, and that blank check company is called Farpeak organization. And one of the largest holders of shares in the Farpeak organization is a company called BlackRock. So all these, yeah, here they are. So these are Farpeak major shareholders. So they're companies like BlackRock, Citadel, and all these different companies, major venture capital firms. A lot of them have bad reputations. And that's who's set to be the owner of all this $10 billion of Bitcoin that came through the crowd sale of EOS. So on Twitter, and the EOS Foundation has been asking for people to submit correspondence if they've had any correspondence with EOS VC or Blockone, to let them know, because after all, they had over the years made a lot of promises to developers. We all remember this clip with Brandon Bloomer, where he's promising $1 billion to people developing on the EOS blockchain. So I'll go ahead and play this.
Back in May. What are you planning to do with that money that you raised?
Well, if you look at how token networks were distributed in the past, it was mostly through burning electricity in order to create these tokens. And so the thesis behind our token sale was to take that capital that was normally used to create tokens and then divert it back to the developers that are spawning the next generation of innovation. So we just announced $1 billion fund for EOS VC. We're investing that with partners throughout the world back into the hands of the developers, so we can see what comes from that type of capital innovation.
Sure, but in terms of how you're actually going to use the money you've raised so far, do you have a roadmap that you're sharing with investors?
Yeah, so we've shared, like I said, the first $1 billion of capital into EOS VC. The primary bulk of it is really designed to use as investment into developers building on the EOS.io application itself.
Yeah.
The first commitment of $1 billion is what we've made public. However, we haven't limited our involvement to that, first capital. There's no need to overfund those programs in the early years.
Yeah, and
so pretty cut and dry there. He's saying, yeah, we raised $4 billion. We have $1 billion that we're going to put into EOS development. And for a lot of people building on the EOS network that have done well, they were expecting that they were going to be helped out with some of that capital, and that some of that capital was going to be put into projects to help grow the network. And now this was published back in 2018. So 4 years later, it looks like none of that's really happened. And luckily, the EOS Foundation stepped up and they've taken on that role, and they've been able to get capital to projects like us. And they've actually been taking a serious, they're taking a serious position about funding and making sure that development's going on the EOS blockchain, which is good, but they don't have $10 billion like these guys do. And it's something that hasn't been sitting well with people. So on Twitter, I was able to post some of, we have tons of correspondence going back with Blockone and EOS VC over the years. And I'll just, this is 2019 that I'm talking to somebody, and he's saying, yeah, we're looking into different projects, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking to people in, these are Blockone employees. I think this one was in 2018 while they're doing their crowd sale. So they're doing their crowd sale, and in their crowd sale, they're saying, hey, wait, we may not have a blockchain. There may not be any blockchain. We're not making any promises. But meanwhile, they're going around and they're telling the developers, teams like us, that, hey, here's our support channels, go to Telegram. Here's our, they're giving me, you have a plan, this is one Blockone representative. Do you have an overview of your plan that you could share? We'd love to see you deploy on EOS. Send an email to our developer relations team. And really making it sound like they're serious about helping projects develop and grow on EOS, which never looked like it materialized. And instead, it looks like they turned around, took all that money, converted it into Bitcoin, and now they're keep moving it into different corporations, and they weren't ever serious about funding development on EOS, which is not good. And so we got lots of replies here. You know, we had misleading challenge act. I think the challenge act should be compensated for it. That was one comment. I strongly agree with you. Agree with this. Yeah, a lot of people are saying, yeah, it looks like they were misleading us. They, you know, now with the hindsight of time and what they've done with the money that they raised, it looks like everyone's saying, hey, yeah, this doesn't look right. And we did get a reply. I got a reply from Brock Pierce, which he was a major shareholder in Blockone, maybe still is. He's, you know, involved with the EOS community, and he goes, well, I don't see anything misleading or any unfulfilled promises here. I see a very responsive team being informative. What am I missing? So that's probably the point. The point is, yeah, it looks like a really responsive team. It sounds like a responsive team, but it's really it looks like they were just serious about getting their Bitcoin and not really funding development on the chain, taking their $10 billion of Bitcoin, moving it to a different company, and then now it's going to go to this Far Peak organization, which is owned by major corporations like Blackone.
Well, let me summarize this real quickly for everybody that's kind of a layman in this area. They raised money. When you raise money, you have a duty to do something with that money that projects something that people want to be involved with. So I'm going to buy EOS because they're projecting a blockchain that's going to have a number of developers, a number of people building on it. It's going to have activity. It's going to create a lot of content. It's going to be something that is going to be, it could be revolutionary, world changing. But at the same time, they're saying, but whoa, people, wait a minute. We may not do it at all. But this is what we're doing. So they're leading us down this rose path of saying, look, the rosy path of saying, look, we got this really good thing going on, but we may not do it at all. So don't really take us seriously. So they're trying to play both sides of the coin. Basically, what Brock Pierce is saying, hey, we're being responsive, but what Brock Pierce isn't saying is, hey, we never really promised anything, and that's what he should have said. But no, they're trying to say both things, which means they're being misleading. They're actually being deceptive, and what they're doing is a fraudulent thing. And I think Yves LaRose was using that word fraud. He called them, you know, what Blockone was fraudulent. And if you're telling somebody that you're going to raise money to do something, but at the same time, you're saying, but we really may not do anything. That's really being fraudulent to the people that are giving you lots of money, because nobody gives people money just to do nothing. So in the strictest language, in the world of the contract, in the world of what they were actually putting into their prospectuses, what they're giving out to the public, they were saying, we may not do anything. But when they were going out to Bloomberg News and, you know, all over the place and corresponding with us and a lot of other developers, they were telling us, oh, we're going to do all these great, wonderful things. We're going to build some wonderful blockchains. It's going to be super fast. We're going to have reversible accounts, so nobody loses their you know, nobody's going to, if you get hacked, you're going to be able to get your money. They're promising all this stuff, but they're not really wanting to do it, and they didn't really do it, and they didn't follow through. So this is ripe for a class action lawsuit, and this is ripe for somebody to go after the $10 billion that never was materialized into anything but a broken promise. And that's what Chase is showing. He's showing the misleading of how they misled us and a lot of other people. And they're trying to get away with this by being kind of like, they're just kind of blend into the background with this Blockone and Bullish and Blackwater and whatever other. That's what people do that try to do this kind of stuff. They try to cover their tracks by moving all the money from one place to another place to another place, so it gets harder and harder to follow, and everybody loses track and just goes away. But the ENF is thinking or wanting to bring some action against them because there's still money on the table. You know, they got $10 billion. How far could $10 billion go to help people like us and everybody that's on this call? You know, if we had a fraction of that amount of money for development, I mean, we would certainly be able doing a lot more, and we would be building value in the EOS blockchain, and we would be building something that would be progressing in the markets. We wouldn't be 52 in market cap. We would be in the top 4 or 5 if that kind of money was being put into the proper places. But it's not being put in the proper places. It's being put into the pockets of some very manipulative people that have played this for about as much as you can play it for. When you get away with $10 billion, you have pulled off a pretty good heist. You pulled off a pretty good sleight of hand. And that's what these guys have done with the $10 billion, walked away with $10 billion. And guys like Eva LaRose, who's trying to, battle back and bring this thing back, they have a long way to go to try to bring EOS back to some market viability where people see it as a place to put their money. Now nobody sees it as a place to put their money because most of the money's been taken out of it that they were supposed to be using for development. So now, these guys like you, they're struggling to get this thing back going. And that's why we need to put some pressure on Blockone and Bullish and all these other people for getting some of this money back on the table. So it goes to where it should have gone to begin with, which is the developers and for building some equity or building some value back into this blockchain.
Yeah. And then, the EOS Foundation, they've never had more than $20 or $30 million to work with at a time.
Yes.
And if they were able to get a hold of $1 billion, that would be big. That'd be huge. I mean, at the end of last year, they were able to give us a $100,000 recognition grant in EOS tokens. That made a big difference. That made a big difference for challenge rewards. We were able to give out probably $10,000, $20,000 of challenge rewards. We were able to pay for developers, get new features, and really help our development. So if they were able to get a hold of some of that money and put that into the foundation and direct it in the way that it was promised to be directed, it could it could really make the difference for EOS as a token, for projects building on EOS like us. So it's something that is worth being talked about. And I think it's something that they just, I don't think that we should all just throw up our hands and just say, hey, that's just the way it is.
We can't afford to. We can't afford to. The problem with blockchain right now is it's being mishandled. We have fiat currencies around the world that are pretty much worthless. Everybody on this call comes from a country that's fiat currency is being diluted every day with more and more inflation. And of course, that's the big news here in the United States. We got to stop inflation. And I know they have the other problems in countries around the world. So blockchain is a solution, it's an answer, but it's been mishandled by people like Blockone. They are really literally taking our futures and destroying it because of their greed and their excessiveness and their unwillingness to use this technology for the purposes of helping every person on the face of this planet to be able to use money or have money as a tool without having a third party like a bank or a system of taking a percentage of every transaction that you make. They're robbing us of that opportunity because they cannot let go of the short-term greed factor. And we have to hold them responsible for that. If we don't hold them responsible for that, then everybody, the whole world suffers because of a few people that are just being totally unreasonable and greed beyond belief. I mean, come on, how much money does one person need? Do a handful of people need to run off with $10 billion? I mean, what are you going to do with 10 billion? How many different places, how many different homes can you own? How many different airplanes can you buy? How many different that's ridiculous. This is just beyond belief that our whole blockchain world is being sucked up by a few greedy scoundrels that don't want to play with some, they'd be far better off and far more respected among the people around them and around people in the world if they would just do the right thing with these funds and not hoard them and use them on exchanges and maybe not even, we were talking about this before the call, maybe not even launch the exchange. Who knows what they do with Bullish if they even launch it? Yeah.
Is Bullish really a legitimate thing, or is it just a smokescreen to cause more distraction and to get people diverted while they go and they put their Bitcoin in another corporation and that corporation's owned by other corporations and it just muddies the water and no one's able to see what happened to the money? And I mean, I don't think anyone would have any problem if, hey, you know what, they had a great crowd sale, they raised $4 billion. If they would do what Brandon and Bloomer said and take 25% of it and reel it back into the chain, they'd still have $3 billion to work with. Everyone would have done really well. And if the EOS ecosystem had $1 billion that was pumped into it, it would be totally different right now. So just not even being able to do that is just, that's extreme greed. And that was something I was expecting them to do. I say, hey, I know that they're going to take a big cut for themselves. Maybe they take 3, 4, 5, or they take $3 billion for themselves and they put $1 billion back into the community. And that's, I think people could live with that. But when I don't think they put anything into the community, and then they turn around and keep that 10 billion for themselves and put it into different corporations, and then just run off and just leave EOS hanging by itself, I don't think that's something that people should accept.
Right, and that's why
Okay.
we're kind of talking. Go ahead, George.
All right. Thank you, bosses. I have a question to ask concerning the Challenge EOS project. Please, I want to ask, what are the plans for Challenge EOS version 9.0? So what are the plans on the challenge? What are the features that are to expect? And what blockchains are we hoping to see getting deployed on the Challenge EOS projects?
Yeah, that was one thing that we were hoping to go over on this call today. It's been probably a month or two since we released version 8. So I actually had a talk with the development team last night, and we're going to start putting together a rough draft for version 9. So everyone on the call, if there's certain features that you guys would like to see, new chains to be added, let us know, and we're going to start putting together a rough draft for version 9. One thing that's interesting that's going on is it looks like there's a coalition being formed between EOS, Telos, Wax chain, and UX chain, and those are all DPoS chains, and they're forming a coalition. They're putting money. They're all pooling money together, and they're going to put it into different things that they think that are important for them all to work on together. So I was thinking for us, I'd like to reach out to that coalition and say, hey, would it be useful for an application like Challenge App to support all 4 chains? Right now, we already support Telos, so maybe in version 9, we could add support for Wax and support for UX. And I think it'd be cool to add support for Hive too. So that's one thing that I was thinking that would
That's true.
be good for us.
Yeah, I also suggested the Matic Polygon blockchain.
Polygon blockchain, yeah. So we can support multiple blockchains. That's the cool thing about Challenge App is there's, as long as it's fast, as long as it's user friendly, we can add support for other blockchains, and that's something that we should do. We're not married just to one blockchain. We already added Telos, and some days I feel like the Telos blockchain works better than the EOS blockchain. There's sometimes I feel like we get less errors. It's a smoother running chain sometimes. So, and with all the upheaval going on in EOS right now, you don't know what the future for that chain looks like, because these chains takes block producers, it takes people running it. There's people that got to make sure all the bugs are sorted out. And when there's so much inequities going on with the chain, there's all this upheaval going on with the chain. It's you don't want to, as a project, we can't put all our eggs in one basket, and we have to have multiple chains that we support.
That's true. Yeah, I hope to, I want to make a suggestion now. I hope to see the feature on the version 9.0. All right. Will it be possible to add the NFT feature on the Challenge EOS version 9.0?
I think it would be. So that's one thing that is cool about Wax, is that Wax does a lot of NFTs. So it may be possible an NFT in the NFTs in the EOS or in the crypto space right now are very hot, very popular. So if we add the Wax chain, we might be able to give people the ability to give out NFTs through challenges. Have a challenge where they give out NFT rewards. So I think that could be a cool thing.
Yeah, that would be great. I think we were on a call on the fireside chats once, and they were talking about the POP tokens getting added on Challenge EOS application.
Yeah.
Have you been able to talk to, I think, what's his name?
I
Is it
don't the
Ruben?
Yeah.
Hello, Ineabon, kindly mute your mic if you're not talking. Okay, so Chase, have you been able to get back to the team, the EOS Fireside team, concerning the POP tokens getting added on Challenge EOS application?
No.
I think that would be a great.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool just to add the capability of NFTs, adding NFTs. I know that on that fireside call, we talked about adding the POP tokens. So I think it'd be cool to add NFTs, and that would add a whole new dynamic to the challenge application. So it's I think through the Wax or through the Wax chain and version 9, I think version 9 we should aim to add NFTs to support NFTs.
All right, okay, guys. If you're just joining us, we are on to another episode of the Challenge Dark Community Telegram. Zoom calls. Kindly drop your questions and get to win 25,000 CHL for asking questions on the call. Thank you.
Cool. So, and then we have that going on, and then we talked a little bit about holding a Blockone accountable and trying to see if they could, maybe it'd be great if they were able to maybe do some sort of arbitration with the EOS Foundation, and that somehow they were able to, give back some of that money to help fund EOS support. And after all, I mean, we have this pulled up that they did pay the government $24 million. So if they pay the government $24 million, how much do they owe the developers? The developers. So we'll see what happens on that front. And then also we have grants on the EOS Foundation. We have the EOS Foundation. They're actually following.
Ineabon. Hello, Ineabon. Kindly mute your mic, please. Kindly mute your mic.
Yeah.
You want to say something? Yeah. You want to say something? Ineabon, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Kindly mute your mic. Mute your mic. You are distracting us. Except you want to say something.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if anyone wants to add something, just go ahead and chime in. But the next thing we need to do is, we need to continue with our development and continue growing. And the ENF put this out, and this is their framework for EOS Network Foundation grant framework. So we will apply to one of these. And this talks about the type of grants that they have and the approval process and how it all works. So we've been reviewing that. It's approved by their grant committee, and this is the who's on the grant committee: Yeez DeRose, Aaron Cox, Fu Pan, Peter Watt. So these are people we should start reaching out to and saying, hey, we want to grow Challenge DAC. We want to keep getting better software, bigger rewards, more users. And we need funding to do that. So we've grown a lot this last year, but we need to continue to grow. So as a community, reaching out to these people, filling out this application, I think it's important for us to do. So that's another thing that we should be working on this week.
Awesome.
And then new exchange listings too. That's one thing that we've been talking about. I see where Anthony's on the call. I know you've been doing a lot of trading, Anthony, and a lot of looking into new exchanges. Do you have any updates for us on that front?
Yeah, I'm really on my way to the house, so I won't be able to talk because I hear my sound is really noisy. And I'll get home in the next like 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah, no problem, no problem. But yeah, for Anthony's really been doing a lot of trading for us and looking to help us get on new exchanges. So sounds like he's a little bit busy right now. He's traveling, but that's one thing that's would help us as a project too, is for us to get on new exchanges, and that should help the token price. That should help liquidity, and that's one thing we're working on too, is getting on new exchanges.
Okay, so I would like to urge the community members to kindly always share the Challenge EOS application, download links on their social media pages. That will help us grow too. And also don't forget to share our new DEX link to refer your friends to go trade their CHL on new DEX. And we can also trade CHL on BitSonic. I think BitSonic, new DEX. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so feel free to go buy your CHL. You can also buy your CHL on the Challenge EOS application. In case you don't know, Challenge EOS application is an app built on the EOS blockchain. It also supports the Telos blockchain. It is a challenge app where you can send and receive challenges using cryptocurrency. So that's how it works. You can challenge your friends from any part of the world to go carry out tax challenges or geo challenges. So when we talk about tax challenges, you can ask them to go visit a zoo and unlock cryptocurrency. And when we talk about geo challenges, when we talk about tax challenges, you can ask them to carry out any tax at all, just any tax. Maybe go get a haircut, to go see a movie, and unlock cryptocurrency. So when you talk about geo challenges, it has to do with location. You have to tell the person to go to a designated location before he or she is able to unlock the cryptocurrency. So go on Play Store or the App Store and download the Challenge EOS app to start sending challenges to your friends and family. Once again, if you have any question, you can ask your question, so you get rewarded with 25,000 CHL just after the call. Thank you and welcome once again.
Awesome. So we've been going for a little over 30 minutes. I know that we like to keep these on, around 30 to 40 minutes. So if anyone else has anything else to add or any questions before we end, I think we can take those questions now. If not, I think we've gone over all the news this week, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah, one more thing. Don't forget to take a screenshot, because I'll be asking for it after the call. Have a blessed week.
Awesome. Cool. So doesn't sound like we do. So like City Mills said, if anyone on this call, take a screenshot and we'll give you $25,000 or 25,000 CHL for being on the call.
Yeah, that will be worth $25,000 soon.
Maybe someday. So you never know. So cool. All right, awesome guys. Everyone have a good weekend.
Thanks guys.
I look forward to that.